All right, guys, welcome back to What Could Go Wrong. Finally getting around to making my main video. So I did drop a little tier list a couple days ago. Um, I was still testing out some of these specs, different classes, things of that nature. So got it narrowed it down, and I've got everything lined up. So basically, how I'm going to do this is I have all 8 classes that I was looking at. I'm just going to move them back into where they go as I rule them out or if I keep them in. So, first up, we got Survival Hunter. So, I think Hunter's in a pretty good spot. I think Marksmanship is definitely in the worst spot, but I think Survival is doing great. I think having Beastmaster as an off spec and a very tanky Hunter spec is good, but I think overall Hunters are just not. They're just a little too squishy. I think that with the amount of heal checks, I think you're going to struggle to stay alive as a survival hunter. And I just don't see a world where Hunter is just going to be in a good place. I think Beastmaster is in a good place, but I don't think the class as a whole is in a place. So I am going to move it up here out of the list. Next up is going to be Druid. So I think Druid is in a phenomenal spot with the way Resto's looking, with the way that Farrell's looking, with Boomkin always being a good option. I think with the tank being good. So I am going to leave it down here, circle back around before I get to the final decision. Excuse me. Next up is going to be Rogue. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm kind of a one trick pony when it comes to Rogue. I really only play one spec. And right now, with the way that things are looking, Assassination is just not going to be needed for utility except normal Rogue utility. They're not going to be the top damage profile. And I think that overall, Subtlety is going to be taking the cake when it comes to Rogue specs this season. Given that all I play is Assassination, I am going to unfortunately have to drop my Rogue out of the main category entirely. I don't think that it's in a good enough place to play. Let's go ahead and slide all of these back up here. All right. Now, next up is going to be Paladin. So originally, I was looking at Holy Paladin as a main. I was thinking that this could be a good season for me to really get into the Paladin vibes. Don't really vibe too much with protection. I think it's a good spec. It's an enjoyable spec, but I think that it's there's just something to it that is not for me. Ret doesn't feel the best, doesn't feel the worst, but I think in general, Holy is kind of really where I wanted to go. And just because of where Holy is at right now, unfortunately, that is going to drop Paladin out of the mix for me. So before I move everything up, I have not actually done very much live testing with my Warlock. Mostly done PTR testing. I think that Warlock is going to be very viable this season. I don't think Affliction Warlock is going to be the spec to play. I think that Destruction is probably going to take the cake. Did not like the way that Demo felt on the PTR. Did not like the way that Affliction felt. I feel like it can be very complicated with your opener. I think that you're going to fall off in certain AoE pulls. I think that you need a tank to be able to pull around your cooldowns. Think you need a tank to be able to pull around your damage. I don't foresee Affliction being a good pug group or a pug spec to play. I think it's gonna be Destro, and given the fact that I'm not overly interested in playing Destruction, unfortunately, that does drop Warlock out of the mix for me this season. So moving along to, you can go ahead and delete that. Moving along, next up is Discipline Priest. I think Discipline Priest is in a phenomenal spot. I think that on live they feel amazing. I think that on the PTR they feel amazing. I think that the testing I've done overall just makes it feel great. I think when you look at the way that healing is going to be next season, I think that in general, Discipline Priest is going to outshine all the other ones. I think that the biggest issue with discipline right now is if you play discipline, you do not have an off spec. I think that once you get into the higher end groups, the higher end keys, like you're going to be locked in discipline or nothing. All right. And that is one of the issues I have. But I do want to keep it on the list just because I think Priest is in a very good spot no matter what spec you want to play. Next up is going to be Mage. So I did some testing. I think that Arcane and Frost are both in a good spot right now, but I think Fire is going to be outshining them. My biggest issue is I really just don't like the playstyle of Fire. I think that it is a phenomenal spec, and I think that overall, Frost and Arcane are going to get you there, but I don't think that they're going to be pushing the high end constant. I think you're going to have to be a Fire Mage to get to that high end groups, high end invites, all of that stuff. Um, the end of the day, though, I think Mage is a good spec to bring. I think it's good to have in the keys, and so I definitely do want to keep it in the mix. Next up, we have Death Knight. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. I really believe that Blood Death Knight is going to be in the meta this season. I think the way the dungeons are looking, I think the way that everything is set up for Blood, I think that they could very well be created, and I think that with a disciplined priest and with the right group, I think that they'll be just fine. On the off chance that I'm wrong and that Blood Death Knight is not all that great, you have Frost and Unholy that are both looking incredibly strong. Plus, it's a Death Knight. That is a very good spec to have in some of these higher end dungeons. I think that everything working out, I think it's all going to be great. So this is what I got it down to. And over the past few days, I have been doing some testing and I've been doing some research. I've been watching some videos. I've been looking at what people are saying about the specs. And I think that in and of itself, I think Druid has a lot of problems still with their tree. I think that the wide range of stats you need would make it hard to off spec. And I think that until they really fix it, I'm gonna have to drop my Druid out of the running. Which brings me to my three final choices. So, starting off with Mage, I think because Fire is going to be the meta, I think that Fire is going to be the preferred spec. I think it's going to make it hard to get into groups as a Frost Mage or as an Arcane Mage. Um, it kind of dropped Mage off for me just because I don't enjoy playing Fire, and if that's the spec everybody wants, makes it much harder to get into groups, makes it hard to keep this as a main. So that did drop Mage off, but did keep it in a good position to be an alt with Discipline Priest. Like I said before, I think the other two specs are going to be very hard to keep up with and play. If the stat alignment stays where it is, you could definitely switch between Holy and Discipline. But I think because Holy is going to fall off around that 10 range, you're going to be forced into Discipline, and there's such a wide stat difference between Shadow and Discipline. You're going to be forced into playing one or the other, and there's no variety, and that is something I'm looking for in a main. So that lack of variety is what dropped Priest off for me. Death Knight. Love the way Blood looks in Season 2. Love the way that Frost and Unholy look in Season 2. There's build diversity on all three specs. There is potential on all three specs. So for Season 2, the official decision for a main is going to be my Death Knight. I really and truly think that this is going to be a good season for tanks. I like the direction they're taking it. I like what they're doing. I like the things that I'm seeing in the testing and what I'm hearing from other people who are also testing. I think this is going to be a good season. But in the event that Blood Death Knight ends up falling off at like a 12, I still have two strong off specs that I can be pushing those keys on, that I can be building and growing and pushing keys. Maybe not to the 0.1%, but definitely into the higher tiers. So going forward, definitely going to be playing a Death Knight a lot. Going to be off specking my Priest and or off-specking. I'm going to be alting my priest and my mage, and so we'll be getting videos out. Uh, I will be doing personal class guides. I'll be doing key content. I'll be talking about the state of all three classes, how they're looking. We'll be doing updated tier lists to see where we're sitting and everything. But going forward on the channel, this is definitely the content that you guys can be looking forward to. So if you guys stuck around for the whole video, appreciate you guys sticking around. Make sure you like and subscribe. Keep up with the class updates as well as talents, guides, everything you need to be successful on these three classes and potentially other classes as well. Once again, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. See you guys next time.